to the Sounds of Stadia podcast, episode number 49. You're joining myself, Chris, one of your hosts, alongside my man of many pixels, Mr. Richie down there in the Purple Cube. And we have a very special guest for you all, ladies and gentlemen, this week. Joining us from Club Stadia himself, the man, Captain America, joining us from the TSI podcast, Bryan, from the other side of the pond. How the hell are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. Is this like an Avengers versus X-Men thing we're going to be doing today?
It could quite be. It could quite be.
It might go that way. It might go that way.
We'll get to some Avengers stories later on. Mm-hmm. But how are you doing, Bryan? You're fresh off the back of a major golf tournament, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yeah. We did about 4 hours today. That was exhausting, but a lot of fun. A good turnout, I think. And it's a game that I think would be great for crowd play, but we can talk about that later. Oh, yes, but yeah,
we'll be getting into all that.
See, golf's not really known for active crowds.
No,
you just get the applause after everything. Yep. Ooh, you get those like really deep like crowd. Yeah, it's a similar with tennis. You kind of have some really good highs, and then there's a lot of silence just in between. But great game nonetheless. And you've got day 2 going live tomorrow or yesterday for anyone listening to this on Monday. And great idea, great concept as well. Getting the community to play some tournament games. It's great to just get people involved, and like you said, that crowd.
It is
fantastic.
Like, agreed. We made like a Discord for it all and stuff, and like it's just becoming very communal. And like, I didn't think PJ would have this kind of effect on people, but a lot of people are digging this game for sure.
No surprise there. And we'll be talking about all the games as well. But for those of you who are unfamiliar with the channel, like I mentioned, this is the Sounds of Stadia podcast. Every week, myself and my 2 co-hosts, this time with a lovely guest, bring you all the Stadia and gaming news from the week in gaming, wrapped up into about an hour or so podcast. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to give us a like down below and a subscribe, just so you are kept in the loop with all of the Stadia stories and amazing PGA golf things and everything going on with Richie's beard and his guitars in the background. We will point out as well, our lovely co-host Tom isn't with us today. He's dealing with some family things, so he will be back. Do not panic. And if you've seen on Twitter as well, if you do follow him, go send him some love, because he definitely needs it right now. So he will be back though, do not worry.
Absolutely.
And Bryan's lovingly stepped in to help out and hold down the fort on his behalf. So thank you again, Bryan, for stopping by. It means a big deal to the lot of us.
Absolutely. Wish I was under better circumstances, but yeah.
Certainly is. But for those of you who actually don't know Bryan, in case anyone is suddenly 5 minutes into the podcast thinking that's not Tom, would you like to introduce yourself? Obviously, you're from Club Stadia, but you want to tell us a little bit more about your channel and where people may know you from?
I'm from the land of America, so I know the accent might be different for most of you guys. But yes, Club Stadia has been around for a little bit before launch of Stadia, and it's been a fun ride. We've had tournaments. We've started our own podcast over there. We mainly do about a weekly video or so. We do some live streams every now and then too, but dealing with like news analysis. We do some reviews. We do some first looks and stuff like that. And like I said, we do the main thing with the channel right now is the Stadia Initiative podcast, which features a whole bevy of awesome creators in the Stadia community like Chase, Eddie, MM2K, Meg, and Germani64. You guys probably already know them already if you're watching these lovely gents. And they've been very much of an inspiration for me when it comes to my podcast, because I think you guys, that bar is pretty much right here with you guys set on it. So, I mean, we do our best to try to, maintain your guys' level of quality as well. So,
thank you very much. Wonderful. If you haven't already checked them out, if you've somehow been in the Stadia ecosystem and you've not seen Club Stadia or all of those lovely, wonderful people he has mentioned, go check them out, because you're totally right. You guys do a wonderful podcast, and I think we all just inspire each other to keep ticking over. We do a lot of cross collaboration. We've been on stuff with, I personally, with like Meg, MM as well, Chase, been on the show as well as Meg and yourself. So one day we'll have the entire TSI lineup, no doubt, ticking through. But yeah, it's wonderful. So if you're like ourselves, just before Stadia launch, you must be coming up on like your channel's like anniversary, right? Like a year.
For Stadia specific content, yeah. The actual channel itself has probably existed since I was like in 8th grade or something. It's been there for a while, but like I started creating content I actually around this time last year. So yeah, I guess you'd be right with that. But it was just like general gaming stuff, and then I found myself just doing more Stadia content, and it was almost just Stadia exclusives. Like, well, let's just dive right into it. So it's exactly what we did. We rebranded in January-ish, and things have taken off since. So
wonderful. And just like the Stadia community, it's growing tenfold. Like whenever I talk to people about the Stadia community, it's just how the conversation in all the Discords, all the Facebook channels, it's just so positive and mature, and people respect each other and have actual like discourse back and forth and creative criticism and of both like Stadia, and they can talk about other platforms without being crucified and everything like that. And actually,
that's something refreshing. I appreciate. Is like I don't think there's any Stadia fanboys in the content creators community. We all openly admit that we play other consoles as well.
And rightly so. Like you said many times, Richie, play where you enjoy playing the most. Really, there's no no right or wrong. It's just go where you want to play. I know, Brian, you've got a big affection for the Sega Mega Drive Genesis era.
Yes. Good man. Very much.
Yeah. Did you used to have the Sonic theme tune as your background in videos?
I did. When I have background music, I'd have the Casino Night Zone theme from Sonic 2. We did a Hydrocity Zone in there somewhere too as well, but I've taken out the music since then just for issues. I suck at mixing it too, so
no surprise there that someone was chasing you for those particular.
I'm sick of them emails from YouTube saying someone's claiming that.
Sega
Sega of America was I suck at mixing. That's really all it was.
It's music. I mean, we get a few from Ubisoft videos when we post them up. Like Ubisoft have a lot of like actual tracks in their video games. I think Trials Rising caught us out a couple of times, and
it's when he's watching the press conference and you get claimed on it. It's like, really? This is free advertising for you.
We were doing the one of the TSI episodes, and we were playing the trailer for WWE Battlegrounds, and in the middle of it, like, cut our live stream because WWE claimed the video, which was a part of one of their Friday night shows. But I was like, well, we're talking about it. We are analyzing, discussing. They eventually lifted the claim like 3 weeks later, but it was weird.
It's worth for people who don't know the systems behind the scenes of it. There's a difference between a claim and a strike.
Yeah.
A strike is very, very, very bad. That's basically full-on copyright infringement. A claim is basically someone going, that's our stuff. We're going to take the money, any sort of revenue from that.
Certainly. A strike is good, however, when you're playing bowling.
Yes.
So speaking of playing games, let's get into the actual episode. As I mentioned, this is episode number 49. We're here to talk about pretty much games this week, gentlemen. But before we do that, we'll jump into some brief housekeeping for the episode. My Monster Boy playthrough, part 9, is up on YouTube. It went live on past Saturday, just gone, 22nd of August. And boy, that game is killing me. I don't know... Brian, if you've dabbled in Monster Boy as of yet, have you finished the game? Have you got far? Did you give up? Are you tearing your hair out because of it? Or is it just...
I didn't get very, very far in it. I enjoyed what I've played so far because I was really excited for it to come to the platform. But, I mean, every time I get into a game, like another game shows up and I get distracted by it. It just keeps happening to me. So eventually
I started playing it, then I looked over and saw Ghost of Tsushima sat there. I was like... Sorry.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you for that. Yeah, what started, I think, was a first look for me, and then I kept doing them, and it filled our Saturday Let's Play slot. Yeah. And I just keep going, and now I almost feel obligated to finish the game, but this week, sandwiched with next week is one. I go through so much pain, and my emotions, it's so bad. But like thoroughly enjoyable in like a Dark Souls kick your ass kind of way, but I did not expect it from a cartoon aesthetic looking game.
And all I've heard is...
go ahead. I'm tempted to watch it ahead of time. Use my privileges.
You're not allowed. I take those privileges away. You get a strike. You get a copyright strike if you just watch them early, Richie. What were you going to say, Brian?
It's deceptively hard. So, like, I mean, it looks cute and it looks, like a simple kind of game. Because, like, the first, hour or two is simple. I'm like, okay, this game is going to be easy. But ever since then, I've heard, people just rage quitting and just getting really fed up with how hard it gets.
Oh yes, rage quits. I've actually got a special surprise for people who've tuned in for the 2. I've got a 5-minute death sequence video series primed ready to go, where it's basically me flipping out for a solid 5 minutes with hard edit cuts. So keep tuned to the channel and watch out for that.
Yes.
Other things we tuned in for this week. We did me and Richie jumped in and did a Gamescom opening night live, which we're going to talk about later on in the show as well. Post show, we talked about some Stadia games and missing in action. So last week, myself, Tom, and Richie talked about which Stadia games they've just gone all quiet on us. My big ones were SpongeBob and Destroy All Humans, because those dates have now came and went on other platforms, and on Stadia we're just the mute is on. We are not hearing a peep from them. I mean, they're not two games I was necessarily excited for.
Sure.
But it's weird that they've came and went on other platforms, and I was under the impression we were getting them day and date because the logo was actually on the adverts, the trailers, and the websites for certain aspects. So
yeah, that post show was like kind of inspired by like Doom 2016, how that just disappeared for like a year and suddenly turned back up.
And just bolts its head out the ground, yeah. But interesting one. So go check that out if you've got any, and let us know which games you out there would actually like to see. You just like to have an update on. Any come to mind for you, Bryan, that you're thinking I'm really excited for, and it's been quiet for 7 months now, or anything like that?
Jedi Fallen Order would probably be my first pick.
That's a great shout.
Yeah, we've been kind of in the dark since April. Like that EA announcement is like, I think the first and last time Stadia's mentioned it. They said fall, if I remember correctly. So fall starts in about 2-3 weeks. So soon. I've beaten the game already, but I want people to have a chance to play that if they haven't already, because it's a fantastic game. And Star Wars has not had the best of
It seems to be on the way back with EA and Star Wars. They seem to be making good moves, but I'm the same as you. It's like I'm personally not excited for Jedi Fallen Order because I played it round about earlier in the year. But if I hadn't, I would be very excited for it right now.
Yeah, and if you're listening and you haven't played it, it's a game. I think it was my game of the year last year. I think it just picked Control for game of the year. So it's a huge title, and you're totally right, Bryan. I think it has been all quiet since, even when they brought out their update that had the battle arena modes and this new game plus. I don't think they mentioned Stadia in the EA trailer, which isn't expected, and we'll get onto that later on as well. Right. But in terms of a date, you're totally right. Yeah, the fall, the autumn is upon us, so it should be imminent. Fingers crossed, hopefully soon. I know we've theorised, Richie, about possibly coming with some announcement about DLC. So Stadia would get almost the Game of the Year edition with all the updates and potentially a new story pack. But it seems it's almost too late in the game now, I think, to be getting some story DLC, unfortunately. However, sidespin off Star Wars, you're speaking there about games, Richie. I picked up, not Stadia related, unfortunately. Sorry, everyone. Stay with me. Vader Immortal on PlayStation VR. And I finished episode 1 of that last night, and that game is super fun. Tells a really good story. Through episode 1 is all I've played so far. But basically, just similar to when I played Beat Saber on VR, had me thrilled to want to wield the lightsaber in a virtual world, and Vader Immortal does very much that. And there's a separate challenge mode where you basically stay in a Jedi dojo, and they have all the little droids Luke trains with on the Falcon pop up, and you hack them down. There's little droids come at you with lightsabers, and you have to block, defend, reflect back at them. And it's I played it for a solid 2-3 hours last night, and it was amazing. So if you've not checked that out, highly recommend it.
So would you recommend getting a PSVR just for that game?
Not just for that game, no, but that tied with Beat Saber makes it very good.
See, I'm quite jealous of you because you're going to be able to play Star Wars Squadrons in VR and I'm not.
Indeed. So many
That's like wish fulfillment.
Now I gotta get it.
Literally pilot an X-Wing from the cockpit.
Yeah, and they did give you a taste in the original Battlefront. I say the original, the rebooted original Battlefront game that came out had an X-Wing mission where you could play that in VR, and that was amazing. So the fact that they've had an extra 5-6 years to develop VR, and it's a new game fully built from the ground up with that in mind, big hopes for this one. Big hopes for this one, which is actually what I've been playing, which brings on me to my next question. Just a quick taste of what games you guys have been checking out.
I'll
Richie,
go quick. Just to get mine out the way, I've been continuing on with Final Fantasy VII, the remake. Loving it. And other than that, I've been binging a bit of Football Manager actually. And today I jumped into Windbound.
Oh, how did you find it?
I'm really enjoying it.
Don't just stay in the Stadia store, because that's with where we find all the games.
I hadn't actually thought of that. I usually do things like that. Yep. So. But no, I'm really enjoying it. You can find it in the Stadia store if you're looking for it. You can, and other stores as well.
I use my
we actually have a first look on the channel, so...
We do, I played the first hour or so, and like a fool ignored all the towers you were supposed to climb. I just thought there were ruins and you sailed right on by them, and then only after working my way past 3 islands I realised I had to go backtrack. So thankfully I edited the video with some fast forwarding, so you don't have to sit through me sailing for a while. How about yourself, Bryan?
Can we just agree Can we just agree that we need big inventories in that game, though?
Oh yeah, 100%,
yes.
Yeah. It got very frustrating having so early on in the game to pick and choose what I wanted to keep. Even though I just had a pile of rubbish, like I've got some bones and some sticks and some rocks, but to me they were really important because I'd scavenged them.
I kept just when I got a new island, just like park up my boat and just dump all the crap next to the boat because it doesn't disappear.
Oh, doesn't it?
So I can scavenge the island with because the islands aren't that big, so I can always
thinking tactfully there, Richie.
Yeah.
Very smart.
So, Brian, how about yourself? What have you been playing aside from PGA for many hours?
Oddly enough, that's really dominated my time. But I did I played Windbound as well. Richie, were you playing on the survival mode or the story mode?
Good question.
I started on survival mode, then I must admit I did drop the story mode because what is it, the door tusks or whatever? Them things suck on survival mode.
Yeah.
Is that the rhino ones?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like it's just unfair. I've got no stuff. I got a crappy spear and it does no damage.
And sometimes the attack's a bit. I found with the spear and stuff, it's very direct attack. I would rather have had like a swing mechanic, like an option to attack differently, because I felt like I had them in my line of sight. I'd stab at them and they'd run away, and then by the time I'd reposition myself, they're almost like too quick to really deal with. Whereas if I had a like a swing mechanic on it, I feel like I could have got a few more hits in before being wiped out by the rhinos.
You're facing quite early in the game as well, and you're still trying to get used to the controls and how it plays and stuff. So I thought, you know what? Before I get frustrated with this game, I'll just drop this story mode, enjoy it for a bit.
But fun game all the same. I actually used my £10 voucher to get it, or $10 from yours.
There you go.
So I only ended up paying like 15 or less than 15 for it. So very reasonable price, I thought, to begin with. But then that's why they give us it, right? To get us buying games. So if you spent yours, I presume, Brian?
Oh, that's been long gone.
I barely even remembered it until you brought it up.
Exactly. I was like, oh, shit, you guys still got those, don't you?
Yeah. They're still loitering around waiting for something worthwhile to spend on. But yeah, as Richie mentioned,
I'm glad it's gone. I'm glad it's gone because there's been so many little few games, like things like One Hand Clapping. It's like, I'm interested in buying that game, see what it's about, because it's so cheap. But I've got that £10 voucher there. I can't waste it. Sorry.
Yeah, got to be thrifty.
Yeah.
Which brings us on then to the next segment of the show, which is Richie's Retcon Ritual. So there's a few little tweaks last week that we just need to correct, because we like to keep ourselves honest over here, Brian. So, and when we say honest, we basically mean when we mess up, because we're only human beings and people correct us in the chat. We like to bring it to a forefront and say, yeah, we hold our hands up and say, yeah, we messed up. What did we get wrong last week, Richie?
So the first one, I actually caught this myself. Actually, during the show, I realised what I'd done, but by the point I realised we'd already moved on, so I didn't bring it up. But in my absolute exhausted state last week when recording, I referenced the ratings board. I said Peggy and Eula. Eula isn't a ratings board, it's end user license agreements. And ESRB. I got it so wrong.
If you'd have just said Eula to me right now, you could have given me 100 options, and I don't think I would have been able to put my finger on what the hell it was.
You want to pick me up on it?
Oh, well, there you go.
I did. Also, from the YouTube comment, Ryan Kettle, just to let us know that Gotham Knights isn't a continuation of Arkham Knight. That's something I think I was asking. Again, my fault.
Well, it is Richie's Retcon Ritual, so that's perfect. So it's actually Brian. It's not for correcting everyone. It's just Richie. So don't worry about anything. Any mishaps that may happen this week. It's all just aimed at what Richie gets wrong. But actually, I think in the episode, I think I did say I was under the impression that Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League was a continuation of the Rocksteady Arkhamverse. It's typical that WB Montreal gets the shaft and nothing they do is counted as canon. Even though Origins is a great game, it is a great game, and it tells a wonderful story about the young Batman, or younger Batman.
Very defensive there, Chris. It is a
great game. Awesome. But that actually brings me to why we've got you on the show, Brian. I'd love to know what your take was of these two games, and do you think they're coming to Stadia?
Well, we'll start with my take on it. I am super excited for Gotham Knights. That looks like a hell of a good time. I like the idea of playing as Nightwing as like your main character. Of course, you're playing with all of them if you want to. very interested in who they might include elsewhere. I know the leaks mentioned Batwoman and Harley Quinn. So, I mean, that'd be some interesting additions. I don't know how you'd fit Harley Quinn into it, but Batwoman, obviously, being Bruce Wayne's cousin would make sense. Suicide Squad, the cinematic was hilarious, but we don't know anything truly about the gameplay, and that game's so far away. But that being part of the Arkhamverse is pretty interesting. I wonder how Batman plays a role in that, if he does at all. The leak said he doesn't, but I don't know. Like that image of Superman just standing up there, kind of like looking dead, and just lasers through that guy's face like he did Shazam and Injustice. Was just like shivering. But do I think they'll come to Stadia? That's the question, isn't it? LogoGate's becoming a very popular phrase lately, hasn't it?
It's got two sides to it, LogoGate. It's got the side where we've seen the logo up on stage and on their presentations, and you're able to zoom in and go, oh, look, there's them. There is some big names up there. But then, and then there's the other side of LogoGate, which is everyone keeps putting out trailers where we know the game's coming, and they just refrain from putting Stadia anywhere on the marketing, even though we know it's coming. So you've got kind of two imbalanced sides of this coin, just basically swaying left to right constantly.
The big, while we're on LogoGate, I think the biggest thing for me is just the lack of consistency. Like, if it's coming to Stadia, in my opinion, the marketing team should be absolutely making sure their logo is on the trailers, because you want people to know it's coming to Stadia. And if I was head of the marketing team, if I saw a trailer go for a game that's coming to Stadia and my logo wasn't there, I'd be quite angry at someone.
I mean, I know Chase has been quite vocal on, I think, the TSI podcast a few times. Like we're even just a good few episodes back about just clear marketing and messaging, and he's very outspoken with somebody somewhere should be held accountable for this. And you're totally right, Richie. If business is ticking over and trailers are dropping and game events are happening like Gamescom and such, when the Stadia logo isn't there, and there's a story that's very pertinent to this later on in the news, who's being held accountable for this? Is it Stadia? Is it the developers? But somewhere down the line, you've got to challenge someone on it, right? Because it's been going on for nearly a year now, and this is big money talking, and marketing isn't a cheap thing to start with, and it's important that they get this right going into year 2. But in terms of the two games, how do you feel, Bryan, about not playing as Batman in either of them? So we've got two quote-unquote Batman games, and as it stands, we apparently don't get to play as him in either. We might get to kill him in one, and he's dead in the other.
Well, I don't think he's dead in Gotham Knights. I think that's just kind of a big red herring. I mean, especially if it's, you don't see the death on screen, they didn't die yet. But I'm excited to play as someone different. I did like playing as the, like having the side missions like Catwoman. I believe Nightwing was in Arkham Knight, if I remember right. So I like that idea of playing as someone new. Obviously Batman's number one, but I'm okay with it. Suicide Squad, I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of that team. So if I were to create a new game, new IP on DC characters, I don't know if Suicide Squad would be at the top of my list. It'll be interesting. I'm interested in the story of it, though, for sure.
I've always thought with Suicide Squad, you kind of need to pull that off. You need to establish the villains through other things first.
Yeah,
I think it's the problem we've talked. I think we talked before about the DCEU, where they just seem to just jump into you don't really know the characters or anything. So I don't know.
It's an interesting one to juggle, but I've said before, DC seem to have a big agenda for Suicide Squad, whether it's in line with the new movie, the rebooted, not rebooted movie that's coming out from James Gunn, or it's the games. But it had a very different take from my perspective, just with it being sunny in Metropolis, like going from that dark Arkham world that we're familiar with to all of a sudden there's sunshine and bright lights and such, and you're outside in the day. Will we see AI civilians in this game, do we think? I know Arkham have usually got a bit of a stick for just the night all shit hits the fan, everyone's conveniently on lockdown, or they're in bed, or it's Christmas Day and there's no one about. So will there actually be civilians in these games, I wonder? Or it'll just be the heroes versus the villains out in this massive open world?
I don't know.
But we'll see. We'll definitely get there. But fingers crossed for Stadia as usual, and hopefully we'll hear some more about their relationship with Warner Brothers as time progresses. Because it seems weird that it's been on the it was up on the stage pretty much day one, and we've not had a peep from them yet. So who knows? We know they're not up for sale anymore.
WB.
So
I mean, we got Mortal Kombat. It's the only WB
that's
game.
True,
but
I always forget about that because it's the guys who do Injustice as well, isn't it? It's the same team.
NetherRealm, yeah.
So they have got one game out.
Yeah. So I mean, that's kind of where the whole like issue might lie for some people. Is like, well, you got Mortal Kombat. Why can't you have I mean, ideally, probably the Batman games are going to sell better than Mortal Kombat because that's a specific niche, but Batman appeals to a wide array of people. So
it depends on what they want to do with this whole crowd choice, crowd play thing, because they've been pushing Mortal Kombat, haven't they, for that in terms of the tools who've been given that. So it could just be it fits Stadia's narrative a little bit more for games to test necessarily, rather than a single player linear game. Although we did get all the Tomb Raiders as well, so who knows? These shadow deals that go on in the background. But that's enough of retcons and housekeeping. We need to get into, very important, the main section of the show. And Bryan, in Tom's absence, would you do me the honours of introducing the...
Absolutely, the super sexy special Stadia story segment, aka the news.
Oh, Richie, you were super late with that one.
Yeah, what
really?
Yeah, super late.
In front of you.
Yeah,
I was thinking. I think your American accent just threw him off there. He's thinking this.
Yeah.
I'm
going to blame Discord because there's always a bit of latency, so that's why we can never sync up.
Yeah. Even then, both me and Bryan heard that you were behind a bit on that one. But thank you for that, Bryan. It means a lot when our guests jump in and do read out the ever important title, which brings us to. As mentioned, the news. And we've had a bumper week this week, a super exciting week. And more importantly, it's all about the games. We're not going to be talking about Apple lawsuits. We're not going to be talking about Epic being pulled from the store, because guess what? That's boring news. We're going to bring you the exciting games news this week. And what a way to start off. So anyone out there who is a pro member, you are in for one hell of a treat. And it's almost like they're just giving them out, right? Literally giving them out. If you're jumping in on a free trial of Stadia Pro now, you are in for a treat. Let's start off then breaking down the games. So, top of the show, you're getting six titles, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the most we've got ever.
Yeah.
Quick test of everyone's memory there.
Yeah.
I think it's comfortably the most we've got.
I feel like we did have 5, but again, they all the like being on lockdown, all the months just blur into one. Like, I couldn't tell you what we got in March, January, February, whatever. I just know I've got them in my library, but I wouldn't be able to tell you what order we got them in now. So to start off with, then we got the great announcement that Super Bomberman Online, get it in the right order, is coming on the 1st of September as a pro game, but more importantly, day and date, and it's the worldwide launch because it's exclusive to Stadia, is it not, or is it launching on Stadia first? I feel like there's something in there. I remember
the game I believe exists at least on the Switch, but this has the specific 64-person battle royale mode.
Is that what the R's for?
Yeah.
Or the online.
That might be the online part. I believe it's just Bomberman R on Switch.
But that's going live, and yeah, we've seen that trialed. I've seen a few people have got review codes and copies, and that they're currently playing it across the Twitterverse. Where are your guys' hype levels on Bomberman Online? Richie, we'll go to you first.
I'm glad it's coming as a pro game, because I think I would have been a hard pass otherwise. Not that it's not probably a good game, just it wouldn't have really interested me to actually spend my money on it. So, but with it coming in the pros, like, there's no reason for me to not give it a go. I think there's probably going to be a live stream in there. Yes,
certainly there has to be, because you're a big Tetris 99 fan, if I'm not mistaken, Richie, over on your Switch.
Yeah, I haven't actually played in a while, which is probably for the best, because I was quite addicted last year.
That's what happens with these games. Bryan,
it's one of them games you can just pick up and play. Like,
Bryan, you a Bomberman man?
Well, now that you say it, I want Tetris 99 over on Stadia. That'd be great.
Yeah, me too. I've played that Tetris several times.
That'd be awesome. That game is okay. Moving on. So, Bomberman, I've probably spent about 30 minutes of my entire life playing Bomberman games. So I have next to no experience playing Bomberman at all. Of course, I'm going to try it out. It's being on Pro, having a special feature attached to it. The only possible worry is if it shows up with that feature intact. I don't know how that's going to go. I would imagine crowd play is going to be involved, but
yeah, they've not clarified that yet, have they?
I mean, the way I view it is they showed it in the trailer, so I mean, I would be kind of disappointed and let down if it doesn't show up, because a couple weeks ago we were talking about Dead by Daylight with that same exact problem. So like, I was thinking, why wouldn't it show up? It literally said it's crowd play, crowd choice, and nothing else. So I mean, I would hope they would do it, but then.
Yeah, because they've not really came out. My guess is it's going to be something just that comes in the same next week's blog. So the game drops on Tuesday, sorry, with the 1st of September, all the pro games arrive, and then everyone will start playing it, realise the feature's in there, and then, probably on the blog we'll get it. Oh, guess what else came out this week? Crowd play, crowd share, whichever one it is.
It's something that I agree. I think it's going to be hidden in the Reddit blog where it's something that I think Google should be shouting this from the rooftop. Look at this cool, unique feature.
Mm-hmm. But that's what we're here for, though, Richie. That's what ourselves,
Apparently,
Bryan, and the rest of the Stadia community are there for, to really put the voice out there and say this game's super fun.
Maybe that's it. They've realised it's free marketing. Just let us do it for them.
Maybe one day. But yeah, like yourself, Bryan, I'm totally... I don't think I've ever played a Bomberman game for some reason. In my mind, it was a Nintendo title just because of the, I think, aesthetics and the visuals of it. In my brain, it was always on Nintendo, but it's been all over the place. I feel like arcades is probably the closest I've got to playing it if there was ever an arcade cabinet version. But yeah, it's never really crossed my path. So as Richie alluded to, it's a pro game. I'm going to check it out. I'm going to play it, and I'm probably going to have loads of fun. And if Stadia's taught us anything with the pro subscription, I've played the biggest variety of games this last almost a year than I ever have done in the last several years, just by the nature of here's a couple, test them out, and I've had a thrilling time with loads. We'll be checking out Bomberman, certainly.
An explosive time.
Have an explosive time. And following from that, we've got another game that probably I wouldn't have paid for, I wouldn't have bought, which is Gunsport. It's a first on Stadia, if I'm not mistaken, Gunsport as well. And from watching the trailer, again, it kind of reminds me of Hotline Miami a little bit. And while we're waiting on Hotline Miami supposedly coming to Stadia, what better time to check out a similar title?
That might be a little bit of a red herring because it's more of almost like an 80s arcade game where basically almost like volleyball with guns.
Yeah.
So it's
probably a bit of a stretch.
Graphically, it's got a similar style to Hotline Miami, but it's not. It doesn't play like it at all.
Well, we don't know yet. It's not out.
I mean, I've seen trailers.
That's true. That's true. Third upon this list, then, of the exciting pro games you are getting this month upcoming is Hello Neighbor. So, Hello Neighbors, that's a right shiver. The guy is just creepy, isn't he? I played a little bit of Hello Neighbor on xCloud preview, so I'm checking that out at the moment as well to weigh up how Stadia compares with some of the other competition on the market. And it was one that I get the premise of it. I understood it. The actual initial introduction to the game doesn't really do much for telling you what to do. And I don't know whether I just was being stupid or not. But I didn't really understand what I was supposed to be doing. It was like, oh, there's your house. I understand there's a creepy neighbour inside and he's kind of murdered his wife or he's done something along those lines. But then, I know I had to infiltrate the house, and after he caught me a couple of times, I kind of just bounced out. I was like, I'll wait for it to come to Stadia and I'll play it on that to test it out.
Yeah.
But game ran okay. I was only able to play it on my tablet because you can't do xCloud on a PC yet. You have to do it on a tablet or mobile device. So we'll see what it looks like. But either of you played this before? It's been out for a while on other platforms.
I have not.
No. So
is the danger implied? So like if the neighbor catches you, that's like it, or does it actually show?
I think just your human instincts would want to avoid the guy. So the game the game opens up with essentially you see him through a window, essentially putting his wife in a bag, or so you suspect. And then you see him try and dispose of it, so you kind of, at the premises, I guess you're breaking the house without getting caught to uncover the mysteries of what he's done with his wife. I think she's locked in a cupboard or the basement potentially, and essentially you have to navigate around the house without him catching you, unlock doors, solve puzzles en route. Again, great premise, but didn't land with me at the time. We'll see if it does as a pro game. But the great thing with this is there's 3 pro games already, which my guess is we'll probably all test out in some capacity, just by the nature of being given them as part of the subscription. Win-win.
That's it,
The question that does raise is, will we be getting Hello Neighbor 2? So the great thing with all these titles that we are getting is they set the table almost for us expecting the sequels, I feel, anyway.
They announced that, I believe, at the last
I was thinking that.
Oh, did we have that confirmed?
I think so.
Or was this another LogoGate thing where it wasn't on the trailer?
Yes. No, I think it was in the Connect, Hello Neighbor, September 2020,
wait,
and
that
Hide
was
and
the-
Seek is winter 2020.
That's all right. Okay, so the DLC is
Yeah.
Hide and Seek, and that apparently comes through with anyone who's bought it already. But
okay.
are we getting the sequel confirmed?
And if
Oh,
my
the
notes
sequel.
are correct, it has
Okay.
crossplay.
So I think this is where my
Really?
ways are getting confused. So correct us in the comments down below if we are wrong. But in my opinion, we're getting Hide and Seek later this year. But the actual numbered sequel, number 2, which was announced at the Xbox showcase, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think we've seen anything for that.
Okay, you'd be right. Yes.
But that might be me just theorizing now.
Yeah.
Either way, there's so much news. We just get everything crossed. That's why I remember if Richie got something wrong, let us know. And if I have, we'll just gloss over it.
It's his fault.
The biggest game though we are getting, in my opinion, from this month is Hitman. So we found out obviously the entire Hitman trilogy is coming to Stadia this year and next year kind of. Hitman 1 though, the rebooted Hitman, is coming free as a September game. We were promised that back at the Connect. They've stayed true to this promise. We're getting it 1st of September. This is the one I'm genuinely excited to check out. I've played Hitman games. Yeah. I've got the platinum for Hitman Go, which Richie said doesn't count, even though it is a Hitman game. I think I've got it on the PlayStation 4 and also the PlayStation Vita, so I've got that double platinum going on there. Even if it does kind of disqualify, but that's what the Vita's for essentially now.
You got 2 platinums that don't count.
They do count. They do. The trophy is on my profile.
You have 0 platinums, according to Richie.
But yeah, don't make me send Agent 47 around Richie because he's an important guy. But did this ring any bells for you too?
I actually have it on PlayStation. I think it was a PlayStation Pro game before, and it's a really cool game.
How about you, Bryan? Are you a bit of an assassin?
This is the seasonal one, isn't it?
Yeah,
it was the episodic one, correct? Yeah.
So the way it kind of works is you'll have like a target to assassinate, but you'll have this massive like open world where everything is almost like procedurally generated. Everything's constantly happening on certain timelines and stuff. The whole thing feels like really lived in. And you can either just straight up find your way to assassinate, but there's also challenges where to assassinate them in certain ways or to trigger certain events and stuff. So it's like endlessly replayable. So it's a really cool concept.
Yeah, that's definitely my top pick of games I'm most interested in playing this week. Yeah.
That's one of those prototypes when you see it, it's like, oh, it actually raises a good eyebrow. Yeah. Well, that's actually a big...
Exactly.
Even though, again, we know they're older games, but these are like big class titles, and AAA may not be AAA by 2020 standards, but in terms of when they came out, they are big titles. And the fact that we're then getting the sequel probably later in the year, followed by, again, one of the other news stories of the week is we did have it confirmed that Hitman 3 is locked on for the 20th of January 2021. And there are pre-orders up, if I'm not mistaken, even though you can/can't pre-order it on Stadia. It's a whole thing. We won't get into it.
There's actually a really cool no-clip documentary on Hitman that goes into how the level's designed and how everything works. So if you're interested in knowing a lot more about it, I definitely recommend watching that.
Interesting. And obviously it was this game where after they finished this and the whole episodic thing, they broke away, correct, from Square Enix. They kept the rights.
It's weird. It's like Square kind of just went, yeah, you can leave.
Yeah, we have no plans to use this IP. You can keep it, which is, from a business standpoint, unheard of, right? If someone just lets them walk away with a expensive IP, essentially. Then they ditched the episodic thing, which I personally have no love lost for an episodic content for games. I'm too impatient, and like we've both found out from the pro subscriptions, other games get in the way and you get distracted and then you'll never get around to doing it. That's what I always felt with the Telltale games. I always waited until a season finished and then bought it.
Yep. It's usually there's too long between episodes, and often you don't know when the episodes are coming.
Yeah.
If they give you the full roadmap, so when you know what to expect them, will probably be different. But
yeah, people like to know when and where stuff's happening, which is why we keep saying, give us a roadmap, Stadia. Let us know when we're getting stuff, when stuff's dropping. When's the next Connect, Bryan? Give us a date. When do you think it is?
October. There you go.
There you go. Thank you very much. Just the whole of October, a full month-long stream ending with a Halloween party.
That's going in the Retcon ritual next week.
Yeah, in the comments. Bryan actually said it was the whole of October. I think you'll find that's not going to happen.
All of it. Every single day you're going to get a Connect.
Wow, could you imagine? And then there's going to be some puzzle quiz connecting the dots in between all them. And come Halloween, it's all revealed. Yep. It's all revealed. Speaking of Halloween, actually, Dead by Daylight, that's dropping in September as well. Isn't it? So I've got an inkling that could be a pro game, that drops in the middle of the month. I don't know why, but just with the
7th pro game.
Yeah.
That'd be insane.
I mean,
I don't think it's a big enough.
Not?
I don't think it's a big enough title for people to out and out buy. It's been out for a good while now, and to get the crowd share thing.
Pro game for October.
Maybe 7 is asking too much. I'm getting greedy now.
They've done it before where they've brought out a game and a month later it's when I'm pro.
Well, this is the follow up to this. So we've got 2 more games which we'll just touch on lightly from what we're getting pro. You're getting Ember. So Ember is now, it's still in early access, but you're getting it for pro if you want it or not now anyway.
Yeah.
I haven't played Ember. I'm not one for early access games personally. If I want to play the game, I'm happy to let the developer work away on it, and I'll buy it when it's quote unquote completed. And enjoy it how it's intended to be.
Invested in the game to actually get around early access.
Yeah, it would need to be something so tantalizing I couldn't stay away. Like if they came out with a Star Wars or a Lord of the Rings game or something, I was like, right, I'm so beloved of these franchises, I'm in regardless. I'll help you make the game if you need me to in some capacity. Right. But yeah, Ember, unfortunately, I'll wait till it's actually don't have to wait till it's finished. It's a pro game now. And the final one on the list is Metro Last Light Redux. It's finally coming, so another Metro game.
There it goes.
You froze for a moment there.
Okay. What did I say? Do you want to guess?
Something about Ember in early access.
Correct, Brian. That is exactly what I said.
I win.
Yeah.
Brian, early access, correct. And then the final game is Metro Last Light Redux, which we also got. Return to the darkness of the Moscow subway sewers and basically kill some weird nuclearized creatures. Haven't checked this one out. Exodus didn't actually do much for me, so it's a game that I may look at. I've heard Exodus was the best out of the lot, so that doesn't really entice me into going back to this. But it's a pro game, so we'll have to see. Brian, what's your history with the Metro games? Big fan?
None. Wait, that's not true. I think I've played another 30 minutes of this too, but I won't touch Last Light because I do want to jump into 2033, and I'm actually super pumped that we got all 3 of them for free. So as soon as I get some time, I will definitely get through these games.
So this is what the overarching biggest story comes back to, is how many people have bought these games in the last couple of weeks and now they're free. It goes back to that age-old thing. So Metro only dropped mere weeks ago, correct?
Yep.
Ember's been on early access for a couple of, probably two or so months now, 3 or so
It's been
months.
a couple of months for
It's
Ember.
been a few months, right? Yeah. Obviously, the other ones aren't out yet, so that doesn't go, but there's a pattern emerging, isn't there, where we've touched on it on the podcast before of, Brian, do you hold off on buying games in case you may eventually get them for pro? How are you? Because I feel like we've said before, I feel like I'm being conditioned now where any game within a certain price point, or maybe it's a AA game, I kind of hold off on because I do honestly feel like I may just get it next month for free.
The closest I ever felt with that was with Celeste, but I wanted to support them, so I didn't care if it was coming to pro a week later. But I feel like we're getting a lot of games that are just new to the platform with pro, and they're kind of skating around that. Obviously, Metro Last Light is probably going to be the one that angers people the most out of the ones that aren't on here. Maybe Ember, because it was early. Yeah.
Get Packed did, I think, annoy quite a few
people. Oh, yeah.
We've got Lost Words was another one, Spitlings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they all did it.
Smaller titles, but I don't know. I kind of get how people might be quite annoyed. You've dropped some money on a game, then a month later you get told you could have had it free if you were willing to wait.
Yeah,
it does. I think it does condition people to not buy smaller titles, which is problematic in my opinion.
Which is why I'd like to know just the wider scope of the deals that go in the background. Because personally, you could have left probably Metro off this list, and I would have been happy with Hitman as the big hitter to coin the phrase. I would have been happy with Hitman, Bomberman, and maybe Gunsport. But 6 is amazing, and don't get me wrong, I'm totally thrilled that we've got 6. But yeah, if you bought these week on week, it's money down the drain, right? For being a fan and having a pro subscription, so you're almost losing out for paying more, if that makes sense, massively. But
I mean, just don't buy a game in the second half of the month.
Just wait
because you're gonna find out in the last 7 days what game's coming. And
I mean, don't get me wrong, Stadia. If you're listening out there, if you want to delve in your pockets and surprise us with Cyberpunk 2077 on your birthday on November the 19th, free pro game, I think Rock suggested this over on Twitter, but could you actually imagine if Stadia came out and went, it's our birthday, it's our anniversary, you've been giving us shit for over a year, the entire games industry has practically ignored us and dismissed us. Well, guess what? If you want to play Cyberpunk, CD Projekt Red's follow-up hit to The Witcher 3, don't need anything to play it. You got your old shitty consoles around, right?
Yeah.
Jump in, Cyberpunk, free, there you go, as long as you've got a pro subscription. Oh, the day.
That would be the most baller move ever, which is why it's not going to happen.
See, part of me thinks Google could afford it though. Like, just subsidize Cyberpunk, subsidize CD Projekt Red, and go, you know what? There's 20 million. We were going to spend it on crappy marketing campaigns for Black Friday anyway, which we know last year they spent nothing on.
No, they weren't.
Well, the budget last year was zero. If you remember those Black Friday sales, yeah. Hopefully, we'll see something.
Google could afford to do that. Stadia probably can't. Bear in mind, Stadia is a separate company to rest of Google. It's one of the companies in the structure, so
I know
it'd have to be their parent company funneling money into it.
Yeah, but
I mean,
imagine anyone out there. Yeah, be brave, be bold, be Stadia.
Yeah.
But just imagine somebody out there who's like, I have my pre-order for PlayStation, whatever. I can get it for free with a 30-day free trial and then a tenner after that. Whoa. That is some baller move right there. But blue sky thinking, let's move on to the next story. So next up in the news docket, we have a great news story from Marvel Avengers. However, we do have to get a bit somber at this moment in time because we can't talk about Avengers without the news that landed over the weekend that unfortunately Chadwick Boseman of Black Panther fame and many other things, the acclaimed actor, we've unfortunately lost him at the age of 42, far too young to go, and I think we just wanted to take a moment just to acknowledge that. Massive impactful for many communities. Many children look up to him as a hero, and they still will look to him. He's done a lot for the wide world, I think, of good as well. So
Black Panther, the film especially, had such a profound impact in what that film represented. Like having it pretty much, this is a AAA blockbuster, like really up there, and an entire pretty much almost exclusive black cast. It was something that was amazing to see.
Yeah, it really was. So obviously, thoughts and well wishes out to his family, loved ones, anyone who's a fan who's feeling a bit tender right now. So think of you all, and you just got to check out Twitter or the internet in general for just how much love is now gushing out for that amazing man. So moment of thought. Thank you. Thank you for everything that you did as well, especially. And hopefully one day we'll see you in the Marvel Avengers game as well. But we definitely want to touch on that as well. But moving on to the actual news story, sad news aside, Marvel Avengers, we learned Stadia is actually getting a special treat this week, this coming week, I should say. And forget pre-orders, guys. If you want to play Marvel's Avengers before all the other people, guess what? Just buy the digital deluxe edition and you get it 1st of September like all those pre-order people. Amazing story out of the blue, out of nowhere. I know people were worried about getting this game day and date. Forget that, you're getting it 3 days early. Amazing. Now, Brian, I would be at a miss to even doubt questioning if you're going to be playing this game because you obviously the host of a podcast that bases themselves around Marvel's Avengers. So for you to tell me I have no interest, Chris, I have no care for this game whatsoever, I'd be taken aback. So are you getting this Monday?
Oh, it's a hard pass. No, yeah, I enjoy the beta. I played it on the PlayStation. It coming early is definitely very enticing. I think I actually might be getting a free copy from my mobile phone provider somehow. So that was news to me over the last week. But either way, I mean, it's going to be a big game for Stadia. It's pretty much their biggest AAA title. I think it's come day and date to this point. I think versus Doom, especially like the Avengers, when it comes to the IP recognition, it's not even close. I mean, it's got a weird. It's weird right now in the public because a lot of people like it and a lot of people don't. I think a lot of people are expecting to see Chris Evans' face or Robert Downey Jr.'s voice, and they're not getting that.
If that's a reason you're not in, then I mean, you just get over that. Really, like,
yes.
Have you ever existed in reality that it's not going to happen?
And a big part of that too, which makes no sense, is the fact that a lot of the voice actors in this game do the animated versions of these characters already. So they already have experience doing these voices. Black Widow's character, or her voice actor is the same. Thor, I believe, Bruce Banner's voice is actually Troy Baker, who does Joel in Last of Us. So I mean,
and everything else.
And everything else. He does Batman, I think. No,
that's actually.
He does Oricon Origins.
He did Origins, yeah, but we don't count.
Yeah.
We don't count Origins. So Troy Baker.
Oh yeah,
I don't even think he got paid for that role. So, so there's that one out. But no, I can totally understand where you're both coming from. You're totally right, Richie. People have to just kind of get over that. I do actually think the lack of Marvel movies due to lockdown and stuff will have actually benefited them in this. That the further we get away from Endgame, the movie Endgame. You've probably heard of it. As further we get away from that, I think people are now then more open to trying out this new look Avengers, and I think they have worked on the character models a little bit. My most jarring thing was the voice actors. It wasn't the fact that they looked like the kind of comic book counterparts almost. It was the voices, because for me, Nolan North is undoubtedly Nathan Drake from the Uncharted series. Troy Baker, obviously for Joel, he puts more of a South American accent. Yeah. South North America, you know what I mean? What do you say? Southwest?
A southern accent.
It's just the southern would have been an easier way to say that.
South America would be way.
Well, that's it. I said South America, and then I thought, no, Joel's certainly not from Mexico or anywhere like that. But you get the gist. But in terms of that, I heard their voice, and immediately it wasn't a case of it wasn't Robert Downey Jr. It's a case of this guy sounds a lot like Nathan Drake. Or any other role for that matter. No, like they haven't really twisted the voice as much like they do for other series. I know Nolan North did the Penguin in the Batman Arkham games actually. He sounds nothing like him in that, but for this he's just gone with his same voice. So that was what I found most jarring. In terms of the game though, I, like yourself, alongside with Richie, we tested out the beta on PlayStation 4. Once you kind of get past that initial 10 minutes, you kind of forget they look different anyway, because you only see them from the back. So it doesn't really matter. You look at the outfit and the shield and you see Thor's cloak and the armour, and it kind of, you don't really see their faces anywhere.
I think it's the same as well with the voice acting. Probably after an hour or so, that weird uncanny valley stuff like that. Why is Nathan Drake talking to me right now? You'll get over that.
Yeah.
Totally, I'm 100% sure. But in terms of the early access, if this is like a common trend to continue for Stadia, I think that's fantastic. Like the opportunity to play early is there because of that pre-order loophole almost. We saw it with Windbound getting DLC pre-order stuff day and date because they've got no way of really circumnavigating that. So it's win-win for us really in a big way.
This is tied to the digital deluxe version, isn't it?
It is correct. So if you buy the base one, you do have to wait till the Friday.
So there's still a big question mark over how much that's going to cost. That could be a big thing.
$100 digital deluxe.
Yes, that's my concern.
Like, are you paying over the odds for 3 days early access essentially? Damn, I wish I kept my £10 voucher now.
This is the thing. If it was like a £10 extra, I'd be fine. But I've seen digital deluxe versions of games go for like almost double the price. There's a big margin of error in there, and that's going to be whether I get it early or not. That's going to be my decision on the price.
We shall
At least here in the States on the PlayStation, it's going to be $80.
So
it's $20 more for us.
Yeah, that's probably, I'd imagine, Richie, one of the ones that clocks in like £59.99 for us.
Yeah.
Give or take. But either way, that decision will have to wait for the Monday or the Tuesday. I keep thinking it's Monday for some reason. It's my birthday next week, so my days are all flung around with what's happening when. Which is why we're recording this podcast not only a day early, but also at a totally different time. It's actually 11 p.m. our time now. And, Bryan, your time, you're coming up on dinner.
The day's just begun. It's 5 o'clock.
Saturday is still very much in front of you, my friend. It's almost like you're playing the digital deluxe version of our lives. We got it. Sorry, we got the early access. We've done our Saturday.
We're in the future.
We're in the future. Wait until the Switch Stadia over on in Australia, and we all totally get flung off. Because we're terrible with. I personally am terrible with time zones anyway, especially when the clocks go back and forward. But yeah, as soon as Australia comes into the mix, that's a whole different world we need to learn. Where they're living like 4 days ahead of us, is it? Something like that.
Get rid of time zones. Time zones are useless.
No, they're quite important, Richie. They play a big part in business, and they are.
You could just have the same time wherever you are on the planet. It'd be easier for business.
But it wouldn't, because then I'd be messaging Bryan going, Bryan, why aren't you replying to me? It's because he's asleep, because it's 5 a.m. when I'm 10 hours into work.
Yeah, but you'd know that at 5 a.m. for him is...
Why would I know that? That's a different podcast. This is a topic. This is a post-show conversation. We'll get into that. eventually. But speaking of other games, and so that's Stadia. Super excited for Avengers. It's one of those where I was quite lukewarm on. Like, as the build up and the announcement, in my own mind there was loads to play, but I think they've got a sweet spot for launching before the heavens open up with essentially the slew of games we're going to get this back half of the year. I mean, we've still got 2 big console platforms to announce their day one launch games, which they're going to have some, obviously not Halo for certain platforms, but there's going to be a big slew of games coming at the back end of this year, and it's great to see that this has kind of got out ahead of the curve. And I definitely think you're right, Bryan, in saying this is probably Stadia's biggest day-and-date game that they've got, because Doom, I think, came and went and with not as much fanfare as people were hoping for, possibly because it came pretty much at the beginning of the pandemic and lockdown for everyone, so people are probably not as much into that. And Borderlands 3 was probably the only other big game we got, not day-and-date, but close enough. This followed by like anything that comes out back end of this year is, I think, huge, and this is the thing that for me is going to start to crank up the dial on Stadia, when people can now get these big games on all platforms with no wait necessarily. It's, if you want to play it, get it now. And if anyone's hanging fire, my guess for this is we have the next gen version of Avengers the same, right? Because we don't have to buy another console.
Well, I suppose what you're talking about there, it's a weird thing that this is the generation console version things is absolutely exclusive to home consoles. Mm-hmm. If you're into PC gaming, you look at it and go, well, you adjust to your settings to your hardware, so when things that I've talked before, like when Microsoft's talking about smart delivery, that's already a thing. That's not new. That's just them bringing this technology to console. Most PC games have an auto detect button that'll auto detect the optimum settings for you. That's all smart delivery is. So I imagine this is going to be basically the same thing.
Speaking truth there, Richie.
Yeah.
From what I just heard the other day was that ESO got a 4K upgrade. So, I mean, I could see them doing these kinds of like next gen upgrades without us really knowing. I mean, we'll know, but I mean, without really announcing it, just kind of patching it in.
No fanfare around or anything.
Yeah. Right.
But it does beg the question, all these conversations. I mean, I bitched and moaned about it last week about the whole debacle with Control and 505 and Remedy coming out and saying, if you want to get the next gen upgrade, you got to buy it all again, even though you bought it day one and bought the DLC. And it doesn't sit with me, but on Stadia, I wouldn't have that problem.
At least that's more straightforward than what Call of Duty's doing.
It's kind of just a free for all. Every business is thinking, like, some of them have got the financial hat on and they're thinking, right, we can rinse an extra couple of pounds out of these guys. You've got the other ones who are playing it safe and going, we love our community, you can have it for free. But there's some stipulations to it, and then there's others just running around like headless chickens, don't really know how to put it, how to explain it. There's several different. They would have been easier saying nothing than some of the lists I've seen companies put out for it.
It's a conversation that's never really happened, the cross-generation stuff, where before it was like, no, if you go to the next console, backwards compatibility was never really a thing. But now the platforms holders are kind of going like, actually, no, we'll support backwards compatibility. Every single developer's went, fuck.
Yeah, they really have. Like, they would have all loved to sit there and just go, right, let's draw a line here. And let's do a rebooted, remastered, up-res version, and we'll just put it out for like $20-$30.
Apart from those who are targeting like the crossover window, that planning to release two versions as a game, where I go, that's a PS4 version, that's a PS5 version.
Yeah, I am definitely sitting happy knowing I can play like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Cyberpunk, Avengers without really having to worry about all that. Like, oh, do I have to put my disc in and download a patch and contact the developers and get a code, or how does it work? I'm just going to click play and it's going to boot up with no uploads, no updates, downloads, patches. It's just bang, ready to go. The glory of it all. Moving on though to the next story, we'll touch on LogoGate a little bit because it's still a thing. Little Nightmares 2 was announced at Gamescom this week. Myself and Richie watched it along, as we said, and there was a slew of Stadia games that were announced and spoke about within it. We got Dirt 5 was pre-shown there, new trailer for that. We got some more information on Chorus, another digital trailer. Watch Dogs won a random IGN award in the middle of it, which no one knew what the award was for, why they got it, but they won it anyway. So Watch Dogs was on show there. Doom Eternal DLC was obviously mentioned, The Ancient Ones Part 1, Outriders, Little Nightmares 2, which I'm going to put in that list because I do believe it's coming, WWE Battlegrounds, Mafia Definitive Edition, and the Destiny 2 DLC. So for me personally, it was great to sit with Richie and watch Gamescom, not kind of reeling back at the lack of Stadia. I know they didn't, again, LogoGate, they didn't put it on anything. But I think one or two things we saw, Richie, through the whole show.
Yeah, we saw a couple of logos.
It was there. We were going to make a drinking game out of it.
In the shows, like we're not. Yeah, we did talk about making a drinking game.
Yeah, just every time.
Every trailer, you have to call whether the Stadia logo is going to be there. If you get it wrong, you have to take a shot.
Jeez.
So,
we decided it'd be too dangerous.
Yeah, definitely. If you want to play an extreme drinking game, watch the Stadia Connect, and every time you see the Stadia logo on them ones, you've got to take a shot.
On the Connect.
Yeah, exactly. That's just if you want to get shit-faced, that's how you play that game. In terms of LogoGate this time around, though, it was great to watch a global showcase, Jeff Keighley fronting this with all the other platforms there. And it was just great seeing games that we knew about and that are coming or have already came to Stadia that we are now coming up on a year, but we're part of the conversation. Whether it's visibly there with a logo or not, we as part of the community and content creators for Stadia, it was great to see and talk about knowing that we actually have that on our very own platforms. That was great to see. But back to the main story, which was LogoGate, which is, I think Duncan must have coined LogoGate, right? Or I think he started it off, because he's the one who finds all the news stories about it not being available and why. Little Nightmares 2, so the story kind of around this has got a little shred more detail to it, and that comes in the form of the Bandai Namco website had it listed as coming Stadia later in 2021. So not day and date, but next year alongside the Series X, PlayStation 5 and Stadia, classed as 2021. And then out of nowhere, they pulled it all. And now they won't give any news whether it's available or not. The Twitter account, I think people have asked a few questions through chat forums and such, and they've been fed back saying, we've got no news on it yet, but keep the typical bullshit answer that you get. But it was on their website. The logo was on their website, aside from them. So, Bryan, I'll throw it out to you first. Do you think this is just a typical only on Stadia faux pas, or is all of a sudden Little Nightmares not coming to Stadia after all? Was it a mistake?
I'm still in Duncan's theory in that it's going to be announced at the next Connect, and for whatever reason, Google wanted them to hold it back so they could surprise people. I like that idea because I think that's the best possible situation here. Otherwise, it was just a complete marketing faux pas, and they just, whoever was responsible for it, put it there because Little Nightmares 1 came out for Stadia. So I don't have a confident answer for that.
They're just watching that back going, does that say Little Nightmares 2? Shit, I thought that was one. Quickly try and remove it out there. My bad. I got the wrong number.
Yeah.
I like that idea, but I think it's a stupid marketing idea to go, we're going to hold off and let you know this game's coming on our platform when the game's already announced. It's like...
Yeah... Like I said on Twitter today, because someone, or maybe on Facebook, someone asked about it in the community, and my take on it is if the logo was up there, that can't be a mistake, because someone who's done that website has had to go out and grab the logo, the assets, and actually put
they've
them.
Specifically put it in.
They've had to code it in with a link to take them to how to pre-order and or to just see it on there, and I don't think that kind of stuff happens by mistake. So I think it is just a case of when, not if, for this one. Especially with the first one coming so recently. Like, that would seem so odd for it to not come with a sequel.
Right. It might be one that they're trying to get working on Stadia, but it's not even it's not confirmed. So they might not want to just have it on there because they don't know when it will come out.
Yeah.
They might not have like solidified the plans on it. So there's a number of things it could be.
Yeah.
But it seems like someone has put that logo there when they weren't meant to.
Yeah. Well, that's why the 2021 made sense for me. It was like, it was a shame we're not getting it day and day, but if they want that extra bit of time to get it finished and polished off, I'd rather it was delayed. But then to come out and say, nah, it's not coming, we can't confirm nor deny. It's like, well, it was on your website. Nah, we can't confirm nor deny. I was like, but it was there.
If I want to go full tinfoil hat at them for the moment, it's partnered with the PS5 and Xbox Series X, which are more powerful than Stadia right now. So maybe it's a case of they're waiting for Stadia 2.0 announcement to announce it, because it looks like it's going to be that version of it. That is absolute wild speculation, though. So I wouldn't take that. It's given.
I mean, it's not the most as gorgeous as spooky as the game looks. It's hardly going to push the hardware.
Right
to its utmost like cyberpunk limits. If Stadia can play cyberpunk, it can play Little Nightmares too, 100%. But then actually off the back of that, do you think we're going to hear about Apex? Because that also leaked and then that's nowhere to be seen. And we were all, I don't know about you, Brian, but I was dead set we were going to see it at the Connect, and then it came and went, and we were all proved wrong.
Well, so the Switch version is coming in the fall. I think that's the most we know about it. So if my theory of an October Connect is true,
the whole of October,
we'll get that shadow dropped as a part of that. So that's when the Switch version will come out, and that's when
it was one of them. It was such a perfect storm. It was like they had the EA Play just before the Stadia Connect.
Yeah,
and like there was lots of rumors. We know there's a few games that haven't been announced from EA that are coming to Stadia. And like, you know, when everything lines up and goes, okay, you're going to show Apex at the Connect, and then silence.
Yeah, that caught us all off guard. That caught us off guard. Speaking of catching things off guard, though, one of the things we often get caught out by is ESRB ratings, which pretty much leak. Yeah, I was going to say, Richie, what are they called again? The EULA ratings.
The EULA ratings.
Yeah, if you've not read the small print. But the people who do read the small print, our friends over at Stadia Source, Dan and the team over there, do some great digging around with the help of Duncan and Cloud with a Chance of Games. And they basically spoil all games coming to Stadia well ahead of any official announcements. So if they've not been digging around in Bandai Namco's website and confirmed Little Nightmares 2, it was going to happen sooner or later. But we've got a quick list of games. I'll just read them out for you, gentlemen. If any necessarily stand out at the end, feel free to bring them to our attention. But we've got Surviving the... So actually, to caveat all this, apparently if you go to the SBAR website, you can now select to filter certain categories, and if you filter for Stadia specifically, these games all show up in the list, which is where they're getting the news from. We've got Surviving the Aftermath, Risk of Rain 2, Into the Breach, Far Cry New Dawn and Far Cry 5, Outward, The Gardens Between, or The Gardens... Yeah, Gardens Between, I thought I was going to say In Between, and Human Fall Flat. Out of those lists, gentlemen, any jump out off the page for you? Have you played them before? You're interested in them? Or have you never heard of any of them?
I think the biggest title in there is definitely Far Cry.
Yep.
Agreed, 100%. Which is no surprise with Stadia's Ubisoft relationship. There were probably going to be an eventuality, whether it was part of Uplay Plus or new releases. Maybe he's just tempting us to tease us set up for Far Cry 6 next year.
Yeah.
Just whet that appetite a little bit.
Yeah, oddly enough, the Far Cry games are probably the least surprising on this list, oddly, because of Uplay Plus in the future. So I would expect these fully to show up with that. As terms of what I'd be interested in, probably those, and Outward looks mildly interesting, but I had not heard of any of these games except for Far Cry, to be honest.
I've heard of Human Fall Flat before.
Yeah, I've played Human Fall Flat on PlayStation. That's a fun kind of like co-op game where you're another Play-Doh kind of guy. And you basically have to solve puzzles, but it's got those mechanics like if you've ever played Gang Beasts, actually similar to Fall Guys in the way they kind of just wobble about. You've not really got any control over the body, but one of the triggers controls a right limb, the other trigger controls a left limb, and you kind of just have to push objects, pull objects, move cranes, get through doors, fire catapults. Basically just a mix mash of different scenarios where you and a teammate basically get through a scenario of puzzles. But it is really whimsical. It's like kind of like if you've ever played Octodad as well. It's that kind of like the fun comes from the lack of control and just falling over and knocking each other out and that kind of fun. Yeah. But yeah, I've played that one before. That's a definite. But similar to you, Brian, the rest of them I've heard of Into the Breach, but it's just a long list of games that I don't really know much of. So as me, they'll probably all be pro games for all we know. But
Into the Breach, I think, is actually quite well reviewed.
I think that's probably why I've heard of it. It's like a isometric turn-based game, I think, from what I recall. But yeah, the other ones they seem interesting, but we'll probably talk about that on later shows when we've got a bit more concrete. Not that saying Stadia Source doesn't get concrete news for us; it pretty much runs our show. But in terms of actual official announcement, they'll probably all be at the Connect. And then the final piece of news this week, Borderlands 3 is getting some DLC. Psycho Craig, is it Craig? I don't know how you'd say that. It's not spelt how I would spell Craig, but it looks phonetically like it would say Craig. Krieg? Okay, so Psycho Krieg and the Fantastic Fustercluck. Got to make sure I get those words right. It's coming out September 10th. Obviously, it's said here. Yeah, it's a slip of the tongue, and you could say a totally different word, as intended, I'm sure. That's coming out later on next month, or this month, depending on when you listen to the podcast. you played around with Borderlands at all, Brian? Are you a fan, or is it not in your wheelhouse?
I'm about halfway through Borderlands 3. I think it was close to one of my first games I purchased on Stadia, if I remember correctly. So I enjoy it. It's fun. It's funny. But the DLC I have not bought into just yet. I'm waiting for a better price. The season pass is still too expensive, Mike.
Yeah. Some of them that kind of ebb and flow. I'm sure we'll get some more pro deals as we take into September as well with the next week's blog, no doubt. The kind of just ever present, ever going these pro deals.
Absolutely.
But great for you Borderlands fans. And we know Tom is a massive fan of Borderlands as well, and he keeps jumping back into many of these shooters that he thoroughly enjoys. So we'll definitely click in with him next week and just find out what his take on is, if he's buying it, and other things. But gentlemen, I think that brings us to a wrap for today's show. Massive thank you once again to Bryan for jumping in and helping us out. Means a huge lot. And we're finally glad to have you on, because we say this every time, but the nature of our podcast is having the three of us. There's almost like not much room for getting like another person in, because there's already three opinions anyway, and I don't know how you manage the TSI one with six big characters in there every week. Like,
that's why it runs for like 4 hours.
That is a good point. Yeah, we try and keep it.
Yeah, we've been toning it down in terms of the length of time. We've been under 3 hours the last couple of times, so it can get exhausting if you go that long.
It's a great listen. So as mentioned at the top of the show, if you've not checked out Bryan's channel, head over to Club Stadia and check out all the amazing Let's Plays, competitions, streams that you guys do with the community, and then branch out from that and check out all the TSI people, obviously Chase, Emma, Meg, Eddie and the rest of the team. They do all some wonderful content on their own accord, and you all pull together for this. Have you got any plans for Avengers as a collective, or is this kind of just something?
As a collective, I mean, it makes sense if we would do something. Unfortunately, it's only a 4-player co-op.
Someone needs to. Someone's going to lose out.
2 people are getting axed if we do something. So nothing has been set in stone just yet, but I'm definitely picking it up. So
interesting. I'm definitely excited to see what they can find. Have you got anything in the pipeline aside from your PGI thing? Anything that people should keep checked out, keep their eyes open for?
No, I mean, just the typical stuff. Weekly videos, TSI every 2 weeks. That's about it. Excellent. Nothing exciting just yet. Or nothing new and exciting.
It's always exciting when Stadia is involved.
Absolutely.
But yes, thank you very much for stopping by. It does mean a massive amount to us all, and I'm sure everyone out there join us next week, where we'll have Tom back in the hot seat as well, and we'll catch up on all the Stadia news. But other than that, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on all the other usual social media feeds, so you are kept in the loop when all our videos go up, such as my Monster Boy playthrough, our first looks at games like Windbound, but more importantly, the podcast. Every Monday we bring you it condensed down to an hour or so. We're running at about our usual length. I know we said, could we borrow you for an hour, Bryan? We do apologise for taking up that little bit longer, but you know all well and truly about conversation flowing, just like your golf tournament, which I'm sure is going to go well into the later hours tomorrow as well. But yeah, massive thank you for stopping by. Thank you to everyone watching and tuning in this week for episode 49 of the Sounds of Stadia podcast. My name's been Chris.
I've been Richie.
I'm Bryan. Thank you.
That's Bryan. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. We've been Sounds of Stadia plus amazing number guests. Thank you. Goodbye.